session, as you heard, is on my call, but we'll come back for sure 5 o'clock on Sunday, if not before. And in the meantime, we will be having conversations among and between the leaders tomorrow, and that's appropriate. And we're going to work, as we have been around the clock to try to find middle ground here. I think this week is an important part of the process. You debate, you put out your differences, and I think it's very clear where we stand, and we have backed up where we stand with a $21.5 billion deficit reduction plan. That and when you add the tobacco and oil severance tax, which we haven't put up yet, we get to $24 billion. And we've also been clear where we will not go on behalf of the people of California. So the next step is to begin some intensive conversations between and among the leaders, including the governor. What else can I tell you?
Republican leadership is serious about bridging the difference between the two.
From what I've seen this week, honestly, no. I think they're people of good faith, certainly, but I don't think that they have shown any seriousness in terms of coming forward with how they get to $24 billion. I mean, what's most significant, of course, is that it's why I asked the question today: are you with the governor, or are you not with the governor?
Was that the point of putting up these measures today, to show that they disagreed with the governor's proposals?
Well, maybe it was one of the points, but the real point was we feel an obligation to put our conference report, which was the result of 3 weeks of intensive work, on the floor of our House. That's the integrity of the process, and so that's what we have done, minus tobacco and oil severance, which we reserve the right to obviously bring up sometime over the next several days. But that was the point. But I think that the 3 days showed that this is, as I said yesterday, this is a very dangerous game of chicken. And the people who will get hurt if it doesn't stop are real people in California. Because over the last 3 days, we have presented billions of dollars of cuts. We have presented current year education cuts and cash deferrals that would avoid IOUs July 1st. And today we presented another multi-billion-dollar piece of the puzzle, and when you do the math, you get to $21.5 billion. Like I said, this business about the bus analogy to me got a little bit silly, but it's true, we are the majority party, and we're happy about that. But under this one hand tied behind your back, 2/3 requirement we have in California, at a minimum, and I say that as a minimum, I misspoke a little bit on the floor, at a minimum we need 2 of their votes. And so that's obviously why their unwillingness or inability to put forward a credible alternative on their own has meaning.
Senator Hollingsworth just said if the IOUs do go out, the Republicans should not be held responsible.
Well, that's a fine opinion. I think that the people can decide that for themselves. The fact of the matter is, Sam Blakesley, the Republican leader, put up Republican votes. They had a unanimous vote in the Assembly yesterday to pass measures that would avoid IOUs. We had more than enough Democratic votes to do the same, and the Senate Republicans, as a bloc, and I believe together with the governor, but as a bloc, said, no, we are not going to do that. So if Wednesday comes and goes without they're either putting forward a credible $24 billion plan, or agreeing to at least avoid financial hardship for tens of thousands of Californians, of course it will be the Senate Republicans that could have prevented IOUs and chose not to do so, along with the governor.
Senator Wright is in Los Angeles
Yeah.
today. Can you comment on that?
No,
The
I can't.
the
I just
Republicans
found out about it.
Are you upset that he went to the committee rather than be up here?
Yes, expected all my members to be here.
Didn't Hollingsworth suggest that you
No.
had ordained that you had
What?
signed off on it? Didn't Hollingsworth say
Yeah,
that?
Hollingsworth said that you signed off on it. Honest God said that you signed off on that.
I did not.
Right, right.
So you weren't aware that he was at that committee?
No. I mean, he mentioned something to me earlier in the week about a committee, but never that I'll be in the committee. So, I'm not going to get in my member stuff, except, no, I did not. I did not condone any member leaving.
Are you serious about closing the parks if Republicans don't support that vehicle fee? Like, absolutely, the parks will close.
I think that's likely, but it's it's even more likely. It's even more likely if the Republicans and the governor are not willing to take the conference report as sort of the basis for closing our budget gap here in California. And I didn't say that our conference report is sacrosanct. I mean, that's why we're going to sit down among and between the leaders and have an intensive negotiation around how to bridge some of the differences. But the conference report is the starting point. And if it's not the starting point for this, the governor and the Senate Republicans, then I think the parks will end up being closed.
Separate meetings tomorrow, or are all?
Still don't know yet.
At least you
Don't know yet.
Going to lunch tomorrow.
Yeah, I have lunch all the time on Saturday.
It's amazing.
What?
Senator, is the point that you made about the conference committee report, is that a significant distinction here in that in February, the governor and the Republicans, or certainly the administration was probably the starting point, the framework was his budget. This time you're saying it's the conference.
No, I mean, I don't want to get into semantics, but I don't want to, because it can become a semantics debate, and that's not what I intend. What I mean is we have been very clear where we will not go on the cut side, and I think the only way to uphold that commitment is to begin with the conference report and then go from there.
Do you know how much a day the IOUs in this whole off-the-cliff strategy might cost the state?
The estimates that I have heard, I mean, just for example, on the cut side, by Republicans failing to vote for cuts, the impact over, say, 90 days beyond July 1 would be about $500 million. That's the estimate that we are working with.
Senator, you said earlier that you didn't get the sense from Republicans that they were serious about closing this gap. Can you speak about the governor? Do you feel like he's serious about closing this gap?
Well, yeah, I think the governor is serious. I mean, he's the chief executive, and of course he's serious about desiring to close the gap. It's just that he, has put himself in a box, and has put forward, this idea that we must solve it all right now. Must solve it all within the next 4 or 5 days. We're willing to try to get to 24 with him. Certainly, we're willing to try to get to 24.
Is he engaged enough?
We haven't. Today we met. The speaker and I met with the governor, and hopefully we'll meet again tomorrow, and we'll continue the conversations, all with a desire towards resolution. And I'm sure he wants to get it done. But I mean, but yet the tactic he is using to try to get it done is not constructive. because essentially say you do it, you do it my way by June the 30th, or there's no deal. I think IOUs would be an unnecessary tragedy, and we again have presented on this floor over the last 3 days 3 tools totaling $21.5 billion that would allow us to avoid that and also resolve most, if not all, of our budget problems. So it's time for a little reason. It's time for some real conversations between the leaders. We have an obligation to get this job done, and I know, speak for myself, I'm going to do everything reasonable in my power, given the commitments you've heard me make on this floor over the last number of days and in our press availabilities. I'm going to do everything in my power to help get it done.
Some would wonder, why you didn't have the meetings that you will have tomorrow a week ago.
Well, I did meet with the governor a week ago. The speaker and I. And I don't want to get into, the administration has pursued a very deliberate strategy, and very different from sort of the strategy in February. In February, he recognized that he needed to come to an accord with the speaker and I and our respective colleagues, and then was figuring out how to then bring the Republicans along. Short memories here, but now we're some months later, and it's a deliberate strategy to try to leverage us into a series of decisions around our values and California's values around this budget, to leverage us into decisions that we won't make. So,
can you just comment on, back in February, you were pretty closely with, or you and Ms. Bass were pretty closely with the governor. You campaigned together May 19th, and now, he seems to be, closely aligning himself with, the very members of your house who blasted all those measures.
Oh, it's really, you're darn right. We stood head and shoulders with the governor around some very unpopular initiatives, while the people he is, the people that he is, working with very closely to try to leverage the Democrats, were nowhere near to be found when it came to supporting these difficult initiatives. So I'd call it ironic, but you know what? It's this isn't about. It's not about any of this. It's not about the relationships. It's not about who's friends with who or who's siding with who. It's about the people of California and the values that we stand for. And yes, I note the irony, but beyond that, I just want to get the job done and get it done right. Thanks, you guys.